Abe, what's up, my brother? Also, you want to substats, right? We could say that.
Yeah, substats. How's it going?
Good, man. How you been? Where you at? You out in Colorado?
No, I am in Minneapolis.
That's right.
So it wasn't Fort Lauderdale because my wife was going to Nova and I was going to Nova too. Then we went to Kansas City for one of her training things, and then she just finished that up here. So instead of having to move for a third year in a row, we just stuck it out here for another year, and then probably look back to go back to Kansas City next summer.
Oh shit! So you were finishing up like I guess your master's degree or something in Nova. You both were.
Yeah, so my wife's got her doctorate in forensic psychology,
Oh damn.
and I had got out of the Marines in August 2020, so I was doing my MBA in finance there, just because the GI Bill pays for it, and then we moved July or June 2022, and then just following her doing her training cycles and stuff. But
Right.
she's all done with that now, so now she's fully fledged like forensic psychologist. So now we're just helping here in Minneapolis.
How's that like
So
living with a psychologist?
it's she's not really a mind reader. At least I don't think so.
Or at least
But
you don't
it's
think.
fine.
You don't know, bro.
I don't know, right? I don't. So maybe I don't. Yeah, I don't know. But it's good. It's good though.
That's good, man. That's good.
She's great.
That's awesome. All right, so why don't we get started? Like I ask everybody this question, but I think it's probably the most telling one for me. Kind of like getting to know how you got into martial arts and all that stuff, and then we'll lead into how you decided to start developing substats, which is kind of like a data analytics platform or approach to analyzing grappling, which is kind of new. Since the sport is kind of new, you're probably one of the first to actually trying to do this type of work. So why don't we start there, man? What was it that got you into martial arts?
Yeah. Well, first thing, thank you for your time today.
No, man,
Having
of
me come
course.
on. Really appreciate it. So how I got started. So I wrestled in high school like 2 years. I graduated high school in 2010, so I'm kind of aging myself a bit.
That's
So
not
I
bad,
did
dude.
2
I'm
years of high
09,
school.
bro.
Oh, okay. So right around the same time frame. So did 2 years of high school wrestling. Then I joined the Marines after. I did some grappling and stuff in the Marines. I did a couple of tournaments in Japan as well. Just like a couple
Wait,
of
you
local
did
stuff.
like wait, hold on. So you started grappling in high school. What high school did you go to?
I went to Hollywood Hills.
Okay,
So I did
and
wrestling.
you did wrestling at what, like ninth grade?
Not 10th and 11th grade. I started a little late.
Okay,
My senior year, I kind of was like a little rebel and
I
stuff. Like
figured that.
I didn't really care anymore.
Yeah, that's senior year.
Which I probably should have stuck it up. Yeah, senior year, right?
Yeah.
So 2 years of high school wrestling, did the Marines. I did some grappling and stuff in the Marines.
So what about
when I
that
was in
Japan thing that you were talking
Yep.
about?
Yeah, so in Japan, I was stationed in Okinawa, Japan for 2 years.
That's dope.
And so I just ran, I guess this is my first introduction to jiu-jitsu. This random new guy from New Zealand, his name was James. He would come to give classes on the base. So I found out about it. I started doing it with him for a while, as long as it lasted. And I did some tournaments out in town. Like we did one on the beach somewhere. I found like an old clip of me from like Facebook memories, like me escaping like a gnarly armbar. I
Oh,
lost the match,
but the
but
escape looks
it was
sick.
pretty. Yeah, escape looks sick though. So 2012 J Rod escape, I guess.
You did it before it
patented
was cool.
then. But I did it way before it was cool. And then I did a tournament on base somewhere where I did the absolute bracket against, and I had no clue. I went against like this dude who was like 6'3", like 250, like just immediately like rolled, like just ran through me, and I was like 150 at the time. I'm pretty
Oh,
sure.
oh,
Yeah, but yeah, it went very fast and painless, which thankfully. So I did that when I was in Japan. Then I was actually on the Marine Corps Greco-Roman wrestling team for like 6 months. I didn't do anything great at all. I was just like a practice dummy.
yeah.
I won like a tournament on the base because they had like just wrestling tournaments. So I did a couple of them. They're like, hey, come out for the team for 6 months. So I did that, and then 5 or 6 years later, I didn't do anything on the mats. I didn't do anything with jiu-jitsu, no grappling, nothing. Just be in the military. I was a recruiter. I didn't even think about it.
Right.
Then I got out of the Marines August 2020. I was like working out, quote unquote, but then like I had noticed like I didn't have like that structure. I wasn't like working out as much, and I put on like a bunch of weight. I was like close to 200 pounds. I just looked like
Yeah.
just like a
Like,
bag of potatoes. So then I just started looking up jiu-jitsu nearby, and then I guess right before my 30th birthday I started training again, and then I haven't stopped.
so how was
So
that?
yeah,
How was
but
that experience with you, like grappling the Greco-Roman team in for with the Marines. How was that like? How was the training look like?
The,
What was it?
Yeah, so it was fun, but it sucked. It was like so those guys were like a couple of dudes like won like the U.S. Opens, like went to like the Olympic team. So I was like
Really?
way like yeah. So I probably shouldn't have even been in the room. Yeah, like those. It was like really like that high level. So yeah, I was just it was super hard because it was just like Greco. I'd never done Greco before,
Right.
and like the men's Marine team, they just do Greco. There's no freestyle,
But I mean, it's got to
which
be
I
good
would have.
training, man. Like to be in that room with
Oh
these
yeah,
people, like you got to pick up some pretty like high level stuff with these guys, man. Just being around them, I'm sure that
yeah,
your level of wrestling went from that high school level that you were doing. I'm assuming it was like folk style or freestyle,
yep, folk style.
and then you went to
Yeah, it
that.
was. Yeah, it went. Yeah, I'm sure I did improve. It just didn't feel like because I was just getting my butt kicked the whole time.
Yeah,
But this was like 2015. I did it. It was like uh practice twice a day. So
twice a
just
day.
wrestling.
How many days a week?
Yeah, five, and then on Fridays it would
Ooh,
be like an hour long. Like just it's just an hour grind match, just like an hour of just wrestling.
kind of like 10 round Tuesdays.
And yeah, but it was just like an hour, just like
Oh,
like no breaks, nonstop. It's just like you just keep going,
with the
and
same
then
partner, they will sit
just
you around.
same partner, yeah, or you switch. I don't remember. I think it was the same partner, but I was just getting thrown and just getting gut wrenched and
How'd you
like
feel after that? You needed
you're.
2 days to recover. I bet that's why they did 5 days.
Yeah, I mean, I was younger then too, so I think I was fine.
Yeah,
Um, but no, it was fun though. So I did that for 6 months, and I got promoted to sergeant, and then I was like, all right, I
yeah.
should probably just go back to my regular job now.
And then you went back, you became a recruiter, you started to gain some weight, and you're like, listen, I got to figure out how to deal with this. I'm going to start looking for jiu-jitsu gyms around my area, which you were in Florida for that time, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I was at John Wayne Marshall. So at the time, I lived in Plantation near the Broward Mall.
Yeah.
So at the John Wayne, so I went to John Wayne Martial Arts.
Oh,
This was the
nice.
closest school. Yeah, really good school,
I
like
know him.
small
I know him.
family
He's a nice
oriented.
guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Great school, all in all. And then I started just looking for like veterans jujitsu on Instagram, like veterans jujitsu Instagram. Then I found like the We Define Foundation. I found DD214, and then I found Drew Buffer or Drew Phoenix, as everybody knows him.
Oh, you just said his last
So that
name.
yeah, so yeah, Drew Phoenix, Drew Buffer,
Yeah.
Drew. So yeah, we all know him as Drew.
Yeah.
So I found him. I found A&M, and then I switched over for a couple. So my last couple months when I was there.
Yeah. Drew's awesome. That guy is, we had him on. He's the guy's really, he's a really nice guy and he's really, analytical. The way that he thinks about things, at least the conversation that I had with him, the way that he just thinks about life in general is pretty cool. We had like a live conversation. It was pretty cool how he broke it down. Really
Yeah,
nice
he's a
guy.
character. Yeah, he's a character, and kind of tying into substats. Like got in. I originally had the idea. Well, I had the idea, then I brought it to him, and then he's like, me and him have been kind of like going back and forth on how to define it and stuff. So
Oh,
he's kind of
really?
like the kind of yeah, yeah. So
That's pretty
like,
cool. So you got
uh,
like that idea from like not you had the idea, but the oh shit.
I ran it by him.
Yeah, you ran
Yeah,
it by
I
him and
was
you were
like,
able to like kind of establish. So like he's a higher level person. Like he's a really high level jujitsu instructor, and it's pretty cool that he was able to just go in and help you kind of like give it kind of like a structure and how, what to look at.
yeah. So kind of just switching gears to substats. So
Yeah.
like, so in my MBA, I found so I thought I wanted to be a financial advisor, but then I realized I was just a lot more sales, and it wasn't. I wanted to like help people and stuff,
Right.
right? But it wasn't really like that.
No, it's not. It's
Like
not.
one, like yeah, like one. It's mostly sales, like
Right.
reaching out, phone calls, talking to people,
Right.
and I didn't want to do that all over again. So in my MBA, I found when one of the weeks they had business intelligence and data analytics. So I was like, this seems cool, right? Money, analytics, whatever this thing is. So I just started like networking on LinkedIn, just doing like data analytics courses, talking to people, doing SQL, Power BI, Python, just all the things. Right now, I'm mostly into Power BI, Power Query, Excel.
Right.
So I just started doing all these things, right? Posting projects on LinkedIn, just trying to get a job in the things. And then after about a year or 6 months of doing that, I had this idea because I was doing personal projects with jujitsu. Like
Okay.
I would do data projects. I would collect my own data, And I was just like, and like for interviews or hiring managers, I would like live share my screen, like, hey, this is what I'm doing with jujitsu. I would share like my dashboards about the jujitsu, and I really got a lot of positive feedback, just because it was different,
Right,
right?
right,
Because yeah, because in data, everybody shows like, here's a sales dashboard,
right.
or here's a HR dashboard. It's pretty basic,
Right.
right?
I think
But
if you throw in something that's kind of like a sport, that well, it is a sport. You throw in like a sport aspect or sport element when you're presenting these type of projects, people are going to be a lot more interested in knowing about the sport than knowing something they've probably seen over and over again when it comes to HR, when it comes to sales, when it comes to a bunch of other stuff. So adding that jiu-jitsu element whenever you got into an interview or something like that probably created that interest or generated that interest that you were looking for.
yeah, it definitely did, right? I think it helped me stand out a bit,
Right.
right? And it was also like it was my data. I'm very passionate about jujitsu and data, so like I know it. I can speak to it. Like one of the jobs I got, I was like live coding like some SQL, which is like some database querying language, with my jujitsu data. I forgot the code, but it was just like positions or takedowns, but it was still in the eyes of a hiring manager like, hey, this guy, he's like, he had a unique project. He's bringing something. He's willing to learn. Bring some difference to the table. So I was like, okay. So originally, when I was just doing it just for that, just to help me get a job.
Right.
But then I was looking at like, and I was like a wipeout at the time. I still don't know anything. Didn't know anything then.
Right.
But I was just looking at the jujitsu landscape. Like people offer services, like they sell gear, right? Rash guards, shorts. People do podcasts. They do techniques. They sell private lessons. They run schools. They do seminars. All this stuff. But I didn't notice anybody like and offering to analyze data.
Yeah.
So then that's when I was like, all right, let me see if I can mix the two, jujitsu, data analytics. What does this look like? And then that's when I first brought it. That's when I first brought it to Drew. It was like Saturday or Sunday after open mat. I was like, hey, bro, what do you think about this? And then he kind of gave his initial thoughts. I remember where I was at the time, and then I just like kind of been taking it from there
So
to where it
what does
is
that
today.
process look like when it comes to analyzing jiu-jitsu data? Because it's not jiu-jitsu, at least in my opinion, it's got to be a different process in order to analyze actual data of two people grappling. It's not like football or baseball where you have kind of like these points where they stop, like, oh, this ball went this far and they ran this far. Jiu-jitsu, the match is constant and things are constantly evolving during the match. So it's kind of hard to measure. So how does that process look like?
Yeah, so originally, I was doing it all manual by hand. I
Oof.
didn't. So now the report. I still have to watch the videos and do the analyzing manually, but
Right.
I have to just like run one line of code, and it sends it to AWS where I have it in the cloud, and then it sends an email right away. So the process right now is still pretty manual, right? Like so, I broke it down by move offensive and defensive attempts and successes, right?
Right.
So I attempted this move X amount of times. I got it this amount. I succeeded or failed this amount of times, and kind of goes like
So
that. And
like
then
if
I
it's
was do
if
yep,
you're doing like offensive, right? Let's say like they go for a basic scissor sweep, right, from close guard. They go for a basic scissor sweep and close guard. You're watching the video. They do the scissor sweep, but it wouldn't be a successful attempt unless a guy retains mount, right? Is that how you would define
yeah,
it?
it would yeah, like let's say like you go for a sweep, it's not successful until you complete the sweep, right? And then I have it broken down by points, gi, no gi. I haven't done any analysis for EBI yet.
Yeah.
Gi, no gi, and I have it broken down. So I have like move, category, categorization. So let's say half guards the move. I have it as a pin, right, for category, and categorization is chest to chest.
Okay.
So I was doing it like top half guard, bottom half guard, top close guard, bottom close guard.
Right.
But then it wasn't really making sense in my opinion, right?
Okay.
Because how do you offensively or defensively do that, right?
Right.
So it's just, it's still ongoing, like a very iterative
I mean, it
process.
has to be. It has
Um,
to be. It's going to be ongoing because
yeah,
also in the sport of jiu-jitsu, the evolution is so fast that you got to be on top of it constantly. I imagine, I'm not that I'm doing that work, just thinking about what you're telling me right now. It's constantly evolving, meaning that you have to be on top of your game and understand the sport in a different level in order to be able to break down these statistics. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. So right now it's just like those. So I have the statistics. I have submissions number one, right?
Right.
So like how many of your overall moves were submissions, right? Attempts, right? Successes. How many of the times you fit, like you have four submissions, you only hit three, you have 75%.
Right.
So how many of your total moves were, or you're counting just your submissions? Then I have it broken down by points, and then like by each match, it's just like offensive and defensive, like how, like your count of how many times you did this move, how many times you defended against this move, what threats did your opponent throw at you the most, what did you have to defend the most, and then each, I guess, of those four things have like its key breakdown, and then at the end it's like a final analysis. It's actually pretty cool and like robust to show like
So like when you say points, you're talking to
overall.
like you're talking to when the match has points in them is when you would introduce a point system into it, right? Like you're not going to be able to do that in a submission only type of match. Let's
Yeah.
say like a Craig Jones Invitational, right?
Right, yeah. So for like, and so Craig Jones Invitational, they're all sub only, but I analyze some people's data. Like they have some points matches, they have some no points matches. So if it's all sub only, then it will say no NA.
Right.
But if it's like a couple of points, a couple no sub only, then it will say three points matches, two sub only matches.
What do you think are
And
the
I've been
challenges right
going,
now for you to do
yeah.
these analysis? Sorry, I interrupted you there.
No. So challenges for me right now. Well, I guess like I kind of honestly I sat on this idea for about a year
Okay.
because I was like, who will care, right? It's just like
Yeah.
because I'm not. I don't want this to sound bad, but I'm dealing with people that like to just fight and go on the mats and
Right.
stuff. So like, how many of those people are like super analytical, right?
I mean, that's a good point, but
Yeah,
I think that if it's presented in a way that is digestible, it everybody's going to enjoy that because even if you watch like any sport and they have some sort of statistical analysis relating to it, it gives more insight than just watching the fight. You know what I mean? It's just making it digestible
yeah.
enough for the person to kind of one understand it and two for it to be I want to say enjoyable, but easy to process. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah. So, but me like holding on, that was just like me at
Right,
my
right, right,
like,
right,
that was just me like, oh, who will care? And then I just said, screw it. Let me just go for it. So the biggest challenge is what you just said. It's like the education piece, right? Because not a lot of people are data oriented, or I mean, everybody does some sort of analysis in our own
right,
lives, no matter what we do, right?
right.
Like especially when we're driving, right? Or that's just a simple example. Like should I do this now or should I wait now? Like, so we're all analyzing something every day in all of our lives,
Right.
but presenting it in jujitsu is just like the education piece, right? Because like, and like the content creation part too is like I absolutely hate. I don't. It's just not my thing. I
I
don't want
get
to
it.
say
I
I
get it.
hate it. I'm like the ideas guy, behind the scenes guy. I'm not like the make stuff pretty looking
I get you. I
guy.
get you. Yeah, yeah, but that makes sense. Like
Yeah,
it's you're the analytical type. That would be
yeah,
your analytical and for analytical people, like making things look good isn't what matters. What matters is what you get out of it. You know what I mean? I get you. I'm the
right.
same way. Like it's difficult for me to make to be honest, like when it comes to marketing or putting together reels or stuff like that, I don't touch that. My wife does because I don't have one the patience to do it to
Same.
make it look pretty, and I don't understand what looks pretty to me doesn't look pretty to everybody. It doesn't look good at all.
Right.
So she's more that side. So I get that completely, and that's okay to that's okay to be that way. It's better that you focus your strengths on what you're good at, and then have somebody that does the presentation, I guess, of the information. And that's got to be difficult too, in order to do that now, because you're kind of the sport is new. It's kind of like a baby. Not a lot of people are doing data analysis, and I think that having somebody like you come in and do this data analysis and kind of create that ecosystem of which you're going to provide to the sport, the ecosystem of data that you're providing to the sport, you kind of will be able to dictate of what it's going to look like. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
what's important,
So
what's
like
not.
there is like there's like outlier database. Like there's people doing some sort of stuff with
Right.
AI and data in jujitsu that I've noticed, but I've no one's been like offering like your everyday grappler like, hey, you want to analyze your data because and to get better, because a while ago when I like really got hooked and I started like I won like my first tournament after a couple months of jujitsu. I did like golden gi and I got third in no gi, and I was just like I really got hooked in, and I was like I didn't just want to be a person that just went to class and just rinse and repeat. Go to class, learn techniques, show up. I felt like I didn't want to do that. Not saying I'm going to be like world champion or anything crazy like that. I just like I wanted to focus my training and be super intentional. So on top of substats, I do like and this is kind of started too, like just taking notes, right? What I learned in class, who I rolled with, how I did, how many rolls did I do, was it gi, no gi, because I just wanted to be super. Because if you're intentional, like with wanting to get better with anything, then you will. But if you're just like just showing up and you won't get as good as
I
fast,
think
in my
that's
opinion.
great, man. Like having the ability to, it's like a lot of people they promote the watching tape, right? Watching tape, watching your rolls, watching all your stuff, and to get better. Imagine having side by side with those rolls, kind of like the stats behind it. You can find patterns in those stats and kind of improve them, whether it be on the offensive or on the defensive, right? Like if you spend too much time or you get past 25% of the time on this side, or you get past 25% on the or 75% on the other side, you kind of know, oh, this the 75% of the time I got to work on that side instead of just seeing, oh, they passed my guard here, you know?
Yeah,
Like getting those
exactly.
points and having them side by side, and like you said, with intention, having that statistical analysis next to what is your watching tape or reviewing your performance is I think is essential in order to get better. Creates another layer of you to be able to get better.
Yeah, because I'm sure like we all people that compete, we have our buddies or whoever take our videos, and I'm sure we watch it. How often we watch those matches depends on the individual person, but like if you're already watching the data and like you're analyzing it anyway, right? Whether you realize it or not, you're like watching your match, like, dang, I got my guard pass like 30 times this match. Like you're analyzing it,
Right.
but why not like have like myself or someone on my team analyze it for you, and then like, hey, this is your match or this is your series of matches from this tournament, and these are like your numbers like for everything
Right.
that happened, right? Because what's the saying? Who said it? Like if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. I
Right.
forgot who said it. Someone smart said it, but it's true though. If you don't measure something, right, how you do jiu-jitsu, you can manage it, but it's just going to be showing up to class and just training hard, hala every day, all the time.
Right.
But you're not really. I don't think you can get better as fast that way.
No, I agree.
What
I
do I
think if
know?
you're just going in and rolling it, like if you don't have, like you said, you don't have attention behind it or behind your training, you're not going to get better. And also, you can kind of see trends in if you do it, not just a one time thing. Like let's say you do something that's, man, you do it every tournament that you go to, you have it analyzed along with the video that you're going to review, right? And you have that data next to what you're reviewing, and you see it historically in the trends that you have going up. Obviously, there's going to be fluctuations because you're going against different opponents, right? But either way, you can kind of see the intentions of what you're doing throughout history and what you're working on and what's getting better. You know what I mean?
Exactly right. Businesses do it all the time too, right?
Right.
They look at forecasting. They look at how they did previously, how can they do next, how they did for a certain period of time, and it's like, why not? I mean, people, we all spend a lot of money, a lot people, some traveling, tournaments, all your healing modalities,
Right.
and mostly you spend a lot of time doing jujitsu, right? You're however long the drive is, however many hours a week you're on the mat. So like, why not? I mean, you don't have to at all, right? You can just show up, do your thing, and that's fine too. But
Right.
if you really want to get better, I think what subsets helps provide will help you. It's just another thing to help you get better.
Right. And you've done this, you've done these types of analysis for competitors. You've done like samples for like major competitors in the recent past. The one that you sent me with Kade Routolo was one that was
Yep.
pretty interesting. I was going through it yesterday. I don't know if you have that there, so we can kind of talk about that.
Yeah, yeah. Let me
Let's talk. Well,
let me
first, let's
pull.
talk about how that guy did in the that was for CJA, right?
Yeah, yeah, that was just for CGI. So a lot of the ones that I've been doing for like these big name ones, I did some ones for ADCC recently. I did it for Kynan, and he shared it, which
Oh,
really
nice.
helped my real. I got like 12,000 views from him sharing it,
That's awesome.
which is awesome. My reports I also can produce them in Portuguese too.
Oh shit.
So yeah, so I've been learning Portuguese as well. I figured why not?
That's great, man. That's great. That's great that you're
Yo,
getting like kind of the Brazil element, the Brazilians, and then you'll be able to get the Americans, obviously. But like going into the one that I saw with Kate, that's pretty cool that you got Kate to share that.
yeah, I mean, I think he just liked it and saw it. So hopefully that keeps happening.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So let's talk about it. Which, first of all, the guy Kate Rotolo was wild. It was wild wild performance on CGI. Probably he's probably the owner of one of the best matches I've seen in a while, man. That match against Tackett was insane.
Yeah, I was getting tired just watching it.
Dude, and the fucked up thing is that it's 3 rounds, and it was 3 rounds, 5 minutes, and they looked great those 3 rounds.
Yeah, they're both like 20 though, so
They're both what?
and they're both like 20 and got that gas tank. I don't know if I can do it.
No, I don't think I can. I don't think I can last those like in that level, that intensity, man. And also the Kade Routolo style, just in and of itself, is entertaining. The Routolo brothers style,
Yeah,
just by itself, is super entertaining.
no, they were scrapping in that match. It was match of the year, match of the century, decade,
All right, man.
whatever they want to call it.
So we have Kade Routolo, and this is for CJI. And
Yep.
what we're looking at is essentially your analysis or your breakdown of his performance during that tournament, right? So why don't you walk us
Right.
through it
Yeah.
and kind of give us walk us through it and kind of give us your opinion on what's going on. What was going on.
Yeah. So pretty much what I do, it's right now I'm watching like it's a lot of pausing, stop starting all the matches I
How long does
watch.
that take you?
Um, it depends. I mean, usually I fast forward a little bit or rewind. I would say it depends on length of the match. I'd say about 8 minutes ish if it's like over time. But it depends really. But not too long. I mean, I would say yeah. So
So like
not
eight
too.
minutes?
It's hard. Yeah, about 8 minutes ish to say, depending on the match. I mean, because I watch it like times two speed,
Oh, okay.
and then I have to like pause, rewind, stop, or it also depends too. If it's like a high flying match like that, it'll take me a little longer. But if it's like a slower match,
Yeah, I get you.
um,
Yeah, not all of them are going to
yeah,
be like Tackett and Cade.
no, a lot of them are going to be very very slow.
Right.
So here we got broken down athletes Cade. I did this about a month ago. So in my report, the AI it highlights submissions as number one, right?
Okay.
So he had one straight ankle lock against Mateus Denise, I think it was. Um,
Yeah.
and then here overall it counts like how many what I really wanted to show was how many submission offensive threats someone has, because if in theory if you have more offensive threats than people trying to attack you, you will win,
Okay.
right?
So offensive
So
threats would
here,
be submission attempts, like attacks.
yep, submission attempts, right? Attack.
Okay.
So he went for the straight ankle lock twice, omoplata once, wrist lock, can opener, guillotine, guillotine. Sorry, I don't want to say it in Portuguese.
Yeah.
RNC, Darce. He went for mirror lock. So it's all these. These are his submission attacks.
Wow, what's
Out
crazy
of
about that part of that analysis right there of the offensive threats is that what you see is that it's very diversified. You know what I mean? It's not like all leg locks. He has the straight ankle lock twice, omoplata once. He also went for a wrist lock, a can opener 3 times, guillotine 3 times. I would, man, thinking if it was Rotola, I would expect like the Darces and the Anacondas to be higher than that.
Yeah, no, if honest, well, yeah,
But it's
yeah,
great.
I
But
didn't
it's
see
great the
that
way that
many
it's shown. Like it shows that there's diversity in those submissions because he goes from the rear naked choke, the Darce, the Anaconda, north south. So I'm guessing there's a transition from those attacks that he goes into the north south attacks,
Yep.
which is interesting. And the buggy choke, obviously, Gogo Plata triangle.
Yes.
It's pretty cool.
So I see it as like I kind of like leg locks, right?
Yeah.
And then whoops, joint locks, strangles. So I have it characterized like leg locks, joint locks, strangles. How they all broke down. So you see he's like all over the place,
Yeah.
right? So his offensive move percentage, right? Out of all of his offensive moves, he succeeded 25% of the time.
So out of all those moves that are the 29 that are above, you're saying that 25% of them he was successful. Is that what it says?
No, I'm sorry. Out of all of his offensive moves, right? So takedowns,
Okay.
passing. I'm sorry, all of that.
Yeah, sweeps.
20 sweeps.
Right.
All of that was 25% of that was submission attacks. So 25% of the time he was hunting for the sub.
Got it. Okay, so that's out of all his attacks, offensive attacks, including takedowns, including sweeps, including passing, I guess would be considered one of those.
Yeah. Anything like he was offensive.
That he's initiating the attack.
Yep.
Okay.
25% of his attacks or 25% of the time he was going for the sub,
Is that
which
high?
is uh I would say so. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you would
mean,
say high?
yeah,
Because like
I would
compared
say
to
that's
other
pretty high.
other athletes that you've analyzed, is 25.66 like a high thing?
I'd have to double check and see, to be honest. I probably did that before, but I would say, yeah, as well, and it's also like who's he going against
That's a
too,
good point.
right? Yeah, so that's factors too, because like a lot of people analyze are just like, just like your, let's say your hobbyist, but like you're like, they're not all like super
Right, right, right.
high level. So yeah, that's a factor of it too. We could probably pull up another report and see
No, no, that's
if we
fine.
have
It
time.
was just my random question, but that makes sense too. You can't kind of like it does vary depending on who you're going against because you have another person that's putting up high offensive moves against you. Your defense is probably going to be higher, so it depends. It's going to vary. There's not going to be like a standard line that you can kind of look at when it comes to jujitsu, right?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
gonna be hard to kind of like make an average because your opponent is constantly changing. So
Yeah, and
it's got to be different, right?
yeah, and like who your opponent is, right?
Right, 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 right.
So the next one here, defensive threats, right? So he attacked. He was 29. He was 29 offensive threats. He did have some
Can you get a little bit closer to the
defenses.
mic? I don't know if you.
Oh, sorry.
There we go. There
Sorry.
we go. There we go.
Yeah. So yeah, 20 defensive threats, leg lock attacks.
Wow,
Uh,
bro.
yeah, this was probably mostly from Levi.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
Uh, this was from
That's
Andrew,
11 leg lock
probably.
attacks for like people that are listening or not watching. Like 11 leg lock attacks. He has 20 defensive threats, and it was 11 of them, which is more than half, were from leg locks. And you're probably right; they're probably mostly from Levi.
So leg lock. I put leg lock attack because it wasn't really like a definitive. What is it, right?
Right.
But the person was going for a leg
I
lock.
get you.
So then RNC time two. Actually, it's more. So if we just want to do leg locks, 11,
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
4, 13, 15, 17, 16.
Wow.
So yeah, so 16 out of 20 attacks were from leg lock.
Right. So like the
But
leg lock is like the leg lock attack. The way you have it categorized is like when they're attacking the leg, but you can't really define if it's like a heel hook or if it's a calf slicer or if it's outside.
yeah,
And then you further define them when you could when it was a calf slicer, when it was a heel hook, when it was an outside heel hook, when it was a straight ankle lock. And then we added all those together and we got what 16 leg lock attacks is what he
16.
was defending
Yeah.
then. And then he had one rear naked choke. I mean two rear naked chokes
Yeah.
defenses, and then that was
From
like most of them were everybody was going after his legs.
Yeah. So defensively, out of everything he had to defend against, 27.4, 27.40%.
He successfully
So
defended against those.
yeah, defended against those, right?
Right.
And then his offensive submission success ratio. So out of all of these, he only got one sub. So this is all your moves. I'm sorry. This is all your
Submissions.
yeah, all your submissions, and then for defense right here. So
He didn't get
he
submitted.
didn't lose. So 100%. When we go down to match types, so for nogi, right? If this was something else like a mix, if I was watching like a mix of matches, it'd say some gi, it would say that
Right. Like
here.
if you're doing like a kind of like a athlete portfolio or an athlete analysis completely with not just in one competition, that match type would be like, well, I analyze these types of matches. I had 4 no gis and submission only, IBJJF, gi, and then that's where you would kind of define which kind of, if I'm looking at it correctly, that would make it extremely. It sounds like a really dense and intensive type of analysis because you have to include points, and now you have to include a bunch of other stuff that wasn't being included when you're just doing one tournament. So that probably gives you a lot more information when you're breaking down an athlete portfolio, I guess you would put it, right?
It does too. It does too. And which I still have to work this through. But what's tricky about the points too is like for ADCC, their points aren't. It's a little bit different, right? So I have all my point. Like if it's a point match, I have all the points calculated based on IPJJF points
Right.
because I feel like that is the most widely used
Yeah.
when it comes to
I would
points.
agree. Yeah, yeah.
But when I'm analyzing matches for ADCC, I kind of have to almost not even use points most of the time,
Okay.
because it will be off. But that's something. And then
That's a work in
something.
progress. That's a work in progress. Right?
Yeah, yeah, And then grappling industries, I did one 2 months ago, and you get a point. So instead of an advantage, you get a point for a submission attempt.
Kind of not like an advantage. It's a submit. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, so things like that. Still working. It's hard to capture everything.
Well,
So
you're
I just
building it
kind of,
now, dude.
I
It takes
just,
time.
yeah. So I'm just focusing on like, all right, what's the main thing I can build other things off of.
Right.
But here's point. If I had the points matches, let's say match 1, 3-0, whatever it would be. So now we're going down to offensive move
Wait, could you go up a
analysis,
little
top
bit?
offense.
Could you go up a little bit?
Oh,
Because that
sorry.
was something I wanted to see. Go up, go up. Okay, and then you have the win-loss ratios, which in this tournament he
Yep.
had 4
Sorry.
matches. He had 4 wins, which
4
were
wins.
referee decision, 0 losses. Win ratio is 100%. Which I think that at least the win-loss ratio is going to look amazing when it's done for like when you're doing like a historical analysis. You get what I'm saying? That type of information is going to be great because you're going to see if you're getting better. You know what I mean? If that win ratio starts to increase, you'll be able to see like that you're getting better as you progress. And
Yeah.
that'd probably be
No,
cool to see
definitely.
like when it's like belts too, like white belts, you went from zero, like let's say 25%, and then you go up to 100% ratio, and then you go to blue belt and it drops again. Because that's gonna happen. You know what I mean? But kind of see that
Yeah.
trending is gonna be pretty cool.
Yeah, actually, I can't believe I didn't mention this. Oh well, it's still a work in progress, but I can show my dashboard too that can kind of show some historical
Yeah, we'll
events.
look at that like at the end. That'd be cool.
Yeah, so points. There's points here. It would calculate points for you, right? So top. So this was older before I changed up my definition of half guard.
Okay.
But here it counts. You know, he was in top half guard. That means he was on top in a dominant, probably close to patching position. You know, over 13 times, right? So he was on top of someone out of all 4 matches. 13 times.
Right. So is that
He
like
had
if it was top half guard, would it be like chest to chest when you count them?
uh, before I'm gonna count that chest to chest now, but at this time
Right.
it was just like regular top half
Oh,
guard,
that he
not
was in
chest to
that
chest.
position.
Yeah, he was in that position,
Cool.
but I so far changed that because I just feel it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, it does. I agree with you.
Um, so top half guard, he was on top. He was in the top position 13% or 13 times. He had 5 Uchimatas. Same thing too. I changed up for close guard. He was close guard top, so he was in someone's guard 4 times. Hit the body lock takedown. He got in close guard. He was on his bottom close guard twice. He hit 2 double legs and he passed twice.
Wow,
And
looking at
here,
that, like if I'm looking at that and with what you were showing off what the attacks were, and we saw most of them were leg locks. I mean, it could be assumed that most of the attacks that he was getting off the leg locks was from the top when he was on top half guard. Just kind
yep,
of just looking at that, like between that and because where else are they going to be able to come into? I mean, you could, right? There's other ways to enter the legs, obviously, but it seems that most of them was when he was on top half guard because he was in that position for most of the time. So that just like
right,
if you
yeah,
look at the analysis at the portions and you compare them to the tops, it gives you a lot of information. You know what I mean? It's like, damn, I'm getting hit, I'm getting attacked by these leg locks from this top half guard position. Like I'm trying to see it like as Cade, but if I was analyzing my own stuff too, you get what I'm saying?
yeah. I would say I guess somewhat of a trade off, right? So like I'm on top most of the time, right, which is good, but you can, against really savvy leg lockers, you do leave yourself open a lot of the time, right? Or they're just gonna attack your legs. They're just gonna find a way to get there.
Right, 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 exactly.
So
So that's
it's
cool to see, man.
so
When you have those two data points or those two informations put together, and you're looking at positionally where you were and how many attacks you're getting attacked from, it kind of makes sense. It kind of creates that picture for you. Like I'm getting half guard, but I'm getting attacked the legs a lot. Like obviously we're talking about Kade Routolo and he knows what he's doing, and it's a different thing. But if you're analyzing like if it was your matches, right, and you're getting attacked leg locks a lot, and maybe you don't have the athletic ability or even the technical whatever, you're not the level at Cade, right? You're not Cade's level. Let's be honest, we're not the Cade's level. But looking at that, you can tell like okay, this is where the attacks are coming from.
yeah, 100%, yeah. And then at the very end, at the final like recommendation, it will kind of summarize all that up
Oh, that's
here.
cool.
So for each of these like offensive move and defensive
So he
analysis, I
hit
have
it
a key
Uchimati 5 times.
takeaway.
That's crazy.
Yep, mostly against I think Andrew.
Oh, okay.
So top position, 50% success rate on all attacks, such as back, close guard, top half guard.
Can you break that down a
And
little bit
then
more? That
yeah, yeah. So at the time, so top position, I had so top half guard here, and I have close guard top here. So I have the move name, the category, and then categorization.
Right.
So then the AI, it takes like, okay, top half guard, top position, and then it kind of breaks it down like top half guard, top position leads to 50% success rate in offensive attacks.
Man, so doing all
So
this, like whatever from what I just saw, you had to probably prompt that AI a lot, right? Kind of getting
my
into the
coding
weeds
guy
here. I know
does.
I'm going a little bit to the side, but since I kind of work in data too, like, did you have to prompt that AI a little bit?
My coding guy does.
Okay,
So like, yeah, yeah. I found a dude on Fiverr who's helping me with like some other
which
stuff,
is
and then I
great,
was like,
bro.
hey, do you?
Fiverr's the shit.
Yeah, yeah. Fiverr is great, and then I have someone that's been doing my recent social media posts. Pretty cheap too. He's someone from overseas.
Oh, we'll talk about
But
that
yeah,
later.
Fiverr's great for stuff like that. So yeah, so I had him. So this is like a real iterative process I was saying earlier. So
Yeah,
like I was just like I'd get a report, mess with this, and then I would just kind of so like I'm a consultant, right, and he's kind of like my consultant. So I'm like, I guess I'm the client of this way, and I was like, hey, what about this? Can we add this? And he doesn't know. He's the guy coding this stuff for me.
right.
So I'm the one with the domain knowledge to kind of break this down for
Yeah,
him.
that makes sense. That makes sense to me.
So to him, I was like highlight submissions first, and then highlight everything else first, or these certain key metrics in a certain way.
Right.
So each of these key takedown, then let's go to offensive
Let's
attempts,
do
right?
that.
So offensive attempts, guard pass. Cade was he's buzzsaw, definitely trying to pass a lot of people's
Oh, that's
guards.
cool. So in the top half guard, he out of the 13 times that he was in top half guard, he was trying to pass those 13 times.
Yep,
Okay.
yep, and then this is a mix of outside passing as well.
Oh, okay.
A lot of my moves, it's still I'm still like defining what they mean or like how they are go. So like for example, like knee. So in my point, let's say if this was a points match,
Yeah.
do I want to put 2 points or whatever here for knee cut, or do I want to keep it for guard pass, or do I want to?
Mm,
So it's just something I'm working on in the back end.
yeah. So like for the people that
Stuff
are
to think of.
listening, what we're looking at is a graph that's showing the type of passing or type of offensive attempts that he had, and it's broken down at least for Kade. I'm sure if there was other types of attempts, it would be in there too. So we're looking at guard pass, which was he had 25 attempts I'm assuming it's loose passing and close passing, right? And then we
Yeah,
had
yeah.
top half guard, which we saw in the other graph that said 13% that he was in that position. Out of those 13%, he had an offensive, which he was trying to pass that half guard. And then he had a knee cut, which is a knee cut pass, right? And
Yep.
the foot sweep is, I'm assuming, is a standing foot sweep, right? It's kind of like the
Yep.
Ashiwaza.
Takedown.
So he had 8 Ashiwazas or 8 foot sweeps from standing, and he hit Uchimata 6, right?
He went for it six
Oh, he went
times.
for it 6 times, and the other one on top is when he did it successfully.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So he
So
has a high percentage of
so
hitting that Uchimata.
yeah. So yeah, he got it more. He went for it more than he
Yeah, but
succeeded.
one more, bro. He had 6 Uchimata attempts and he hit 5 of them. That's
Yeah, which is
that's pretty
wild.
high, bro.
Yeah,
That's wild.
and and then same close guard top tier. So this one I would say this is an old report.
Right.
So I would just say yeah. That's why I would see this here is like how do you attempt to get a close guard top, right? So
I get
that's
what you're
one of the
saying.
things I have to keep. This is what I have to keep like going back and like redefining things.
Right,
So
you're
you went
evolving
from
it. You're
double
getting
A.
into it now. Like you're structuring the way that data should be looked at in jiu-jitsu, which is something that's unique and it's growing now. It's innovative, right? Like there's a couple people that do it, but it's only a couple, man. Not a lot of people are doing it, and not in the way that you're doing it for the athletes, for them to have kind of like a database of their own performance.
Yeah,
It's unique.
that's right. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate. It. Yeah, that's where I got the. I saw like no one's offering this. Let me see. Who cares? See if it works out. I mean, not saying I'm gonna sell this to like for millions of dollars one day.
Right.
That'd be pretty nice, but
Yeah, but you're
we'll
like
see.
you're doing it like to my understanding, there's people that are gonna break down events and they're gonna break down kind of like the analysis for, let's say, whatever platform or whatever tournament that needs like statistical knowledge, which is great. That's good. I think it gives it more insight on what's going on in the matches. Your goal here is kind of to show athletes that are competing and kind of give them that opportunity to have that high level statistical analysis when it comes to their performance in jiu-jitsu, which is great, man. I don't think there's anybody else that's doing that for actual athletes.
Yeah, and then so I actually in about a month in November we're gonna have a local like super fights up here
Yeah,
in Minnesota, and one of the guys running it asked me to kind of introduce some stats for some of the matches for
that's
substats. So
awesome, dude.
I'll be competing and doing some substats up there. So more to come, but that's in
What's
November.
the name of
It's
the
called
What's the name of the?
it's called Uncommon Classic.
Okay,
I didn't get to do it last year. I'll send you the reel today. They
sure.
just dropped they just opened up registration today, but it's Uncommon Classic. It's gonna be pretty
Is
fun
it no gi or is it
as it
gi?
looks
What is
like.
it? What is it?
It's a mix, whatever you want. So I obviously registered today for Nogi
Okay,
175 Nogi blue belt.
you're not gonna do gi.
I mean I don't mind it, right? Like if I let's say like I'm short on time or I'm kind of hurting that day or from the night before, like if I want, I'll just do like the beginner gi class and then just like call it a day, just to still get something in. But
Right.
most of the time, I prefer to do no
Yeah,
gi.
it makes sense. But after all that wrestling you did in the Marines in high school, it's got to be it's got to be more. And nogi's a lot more fun too, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I like the
same
gi.
here.
I don't want it to be misinterpreted. I do gi, but I like nogi more. It's a lot more fun. All right, so
Yeah,
let's
absolutely.
keep going with
Yeah.
this.
So
What's the canopy? Is that like the pass?
no, it's like I actually had to add this in because I like every time I watch a match, I feel like I have to go and add more moves in.
That makes
So it's just
sense.
like the one. It feels like the can opener where they're like
Like when you're
in
passing top
someone's
guard, when you're passing forward.
yeah when you're in someone's close guard and you just like crank their head back.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
did that
yeah,
a
yeah.
couple times. So here guard pass attempts when passing was attempted the most at any position with 25 attempts, so 21% of the time. Out of all his offensive attempts, he was trying to do the pass, and
So they were
he has
putting him
some.
in. He was trying to pass a lot.
Yeah,
He was trying to
that's
pass a
what it's
lot.
showing here. And his most attempted submission was that can opener. I mean, he probably would have done it, but against people like his level, I think he was just doing it just to open something else up,
Yeah, yeah,
from what
trying
it
to
looked
open up
like.
the guard. I don't think he was trying to like he was going for it, but I don't think he could submit anybody with that move. Or that at least at that level, man.
Yeah, I mean, me for sure, but.
Yeah.
And then, so defensive analysis, so his top defensive successes, right? Just mimicking offensive pretty much. So he was on top a lot of the times, right? As we see, he
Yeah.
was trying to pass. So it would be it's noticeable that he's on top of people. They're mostly going to try to sweep him. Um, as we saw earlier,
So
leg
this one is
locks.
so this one just so like for people that are listening. So we're looking at a graph right now. It's talking about the top defensive successes, which is correct me if I'm wrong, is what he defended and did so successfully, right? So
Correct.
like he was attacked with a sweep 17 times, and he was able to defend it amazingly because it was 17 attempts and he didn't get sweep, right? And then leg locks, we saw that he had a bunch of leg locks. They were attacking his legs like crazy. They attacked his back 9, single leg 6 times. Guard, they tried to pass guard 5, a double leg 3 times, and the Uchimata also. They came back with that Uchimata.
Yeah, that was probably
Yeah,
the
yeah. It
tactic
sounded like
match.
it was a tag thing.
And then so 30% of all successful attempts came. So then this kind of gives you some submission. So it's not going to be here. It's not going to be in the chart, but it breaks it down here in the key takeaway.
So it
So
says,
30%.
go ahead, you can do it.
So 30% of all successfully defended attempts came from the submission category. Calf slicer, heel hook, leg lock, SI heel hook, all that stuff.
It's pretty cool that you have that kind of summarized at the top, kind of like an executive summary with everything at top, and then you break it down into its proper sections. So like what we were talking about right now when we looked at the report initially, we're like, oh damn, there's a lot of leg locks. And if they want to look at it more in detail, they can go to that section and look at it and be like, oh, look at this. These are the attacks that they're coming from. This is where it came from. It allows you to give you a little bit more definition to the data and more definition on the performance of the athlete.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a perfect way to put it. Executive summary, right? So it's just like want to show the most. But just like at work, right? You want to show like your KPIs,
Right.
your most important information up top, and then depending on what it is, as you want to get more granular, for that
Which is
stakeholder,
great
right?
because like you kind of want to have it defined in that way that you can look at the information, all the important information on top, and then go from there to like the specific sections that interest you, like as an athlete. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, right. That's just like, so you want to like know like, all right, high level, what did I do wrong? What went great? And then granular level, specifically what it was.
So,
Um,
so how
yep.
how how well, let's finish with the defensive, and I'll come up with a follow up question like of the reporting for the athletes because I want to kind of
hmm
break the rest of this down. So you got the key takeaways there.
Yeah. So this is defensive attempts, right? So we have defense. So how many times he attempted to defend a move?
Oh, so in that one, the sweeps he
Yeah.
had 18. That's the total of sweeps that he had. There were 18 sweeps, and 17 he defended.
Yep.
That's high percentage as well. Leg attacks, we already know that it was 11. He got out all 11 of them. Back it was 9. He got out of 9. Guard pull, I don't remember the number up there, but that was up there.
Yep. Single leg guard
So he
pass, and
got hit
then
with
the
those two
sweep.
Uchimatas then, right? Or no, no.
I think it was countered hit.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
so it's
okay.
like counter wrestling
All right.
because he did get his back taken twice in the tacking match,
Okay. Okay. Those are the
and
total for
then
all the matches.
yeah, it breaks it down for all the matches here, and then key takeaway, same thing as the top one, and then we'll go down here for the final. Not gonna read this
Yeah, yeah,
verbatim, but it
yeah.
pretty much, yeah, but it pretty much break, and then like every time, like the AI, like every time I click run on the code or whatever, like this is all different each time.
Right.
So like the final, so it's not going to be like nobody gets like a cookie cutter analysis because the data is different.
Right.
But here, this one I really liked it because it gives you a breakdown of who you went against, right? Um, yeah, so then it just gives you a breakdown of the dominance, and then
Yeah, it gives you the
offensive.
strategic approach, which is pretty cool. Like what was his strategy, or what, at least I guess that's trying to tell you, what were the patterns in that particular tournament that he was trying to implement and trying to kind of put on his opponents, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, and then like a lot of the times too, like I had to just change this because I was analyzing some other dude's data and like he really didn't have anything to recommend. So I had my guy put like a disclaimer in there saying that there's not enough data to provide a recommendation because some people it's like they analyze some matches it's just like man what do you recommend
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so yeah, but yeah, so like yes, yeah, so all in all, this final recommendation just breaks down just how they did across their matches, highlighting their specific positions or moves. So, it seems like highlighting their dominance and dictating the pace and position of fights. Like all that the AI takes it from all the code that's being inputted, so
That's
or all
awesome,
the
dude.
stats that's being put.
And then
Thank you.
how would so this is like kind of like a sample of the work that you would give to other athletes that are looking to like implement or to add this to their training regimen, kind of to get better. How would you go about if somebody like if I was competing, I go, hey man, I kind of want you to take control of my data analysis and my analysis and performance in tournaments. Do they go like on a tournament basis? Do they do it kind of? How does it work? Do you give like a subscription or where they can do it? Will you just send me in the data for every month and then I'll analyze it, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I was originally toying out with like the subscription model idea, but a lot of the pricing and stuff, I still need to work out on the back end. So essentially, right, let's say like you just did White Lion, right, a couple weeks ago. Let's say you won the tournament, you had some matches. It's like send me your match data, I'll analyze it for you. And then I'm thinking I want to do subscriptions because I'm sure people are gonna. I just don't want this to be like a one-time thing.
Right.
Um, so
It's
yeah,
probably
I'm still
better if they
working
do
on
it
that.
more than like you're gonna get more out of it if it's not if it is a subscription basis. Like you
Right.
just
Yeah.
send in your turning, or even maybe even the training video. They just send it in, and then they have that, like you can tier it. Like tier one is just for tournaments, and then tier two is tournaments and training. And they send that in, and they can kind of break it down like. And then you give them a report, what, weekly or monthly, depending on how much video they give you. You just send that out to them, and then they'll have that accompanying them as they train.
Yeah, no, that's my intention, right? Like, so right now, like, if someone just wanted to, it'd be like 19.99. Send me however many videos you want. But I know, like I say, someone could send me 5, and someone could send me 20.
Right.
Like, that's not gonna
They're
be
the same,
so.
right?
So, yeah, it's not gonna be the same. So I'm definitely working on trying to make it make sense as a subscription model. and then going forward in the future, what I'm having my coding guy doing is like, I don't want to like, as much as I like sitting and watching the videos and analyzing the data, I want to take the human element out of it completely. So what I
You
want,
want to
so what
automate
my
it.
guys work, what my guys working on is like someone like goes to like, you create a profile, you have a, it's like a website,
Oh, cool.
you drop your videos in there, and then automatically, like the AI will look at the videos and matches and give you a report right away.
Yeah, I was gonna say like they're doing that for other sports. Obviously, this is very high level type of AI analysis or data analysis where they're doing it based off videos, right? So you bring that element in where you create the profile and you just drop in your videos. It gives you the report of that, and then I'm guessing they will have some sort of dashboard for you that will have all that broken down. That's the future of what you want to do.
Yeah, so it's called, I forgot what it's called in coding. It's like visual something.
Okay.
But it's like super, it's like expensive,
Yeah.
and also the code is like super
Yeah,
complicated.
it is.
Cause so like so this other guy I met, he's doing something for boxing right
Oh,
now where
cool.
it has like the pinpoints. He was like showing me his code and what he's doing. It's just like it has the boxer like calculate strikes, his positioning, and they do it for PFL. I think it's trying to do it for UFC as well,
Yeah,
right?
UFC has some
But the
wild
thing with
stuff, dude. It has that mouth guard that it was measuring like the strikes that they were receiving to the head, I guess. Bro, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
wow. So like, so you're asking the code to do a lot, right? But for grab, like it's for punching, it's, I wouldn't say it's easier, but it's a little
It is
bit.
kind of easier.
It is kind of easier, right? Because it's like, okay, this is a punch, this is a kick.
Right.
But for jujitsu, it's just like two dudes are just hugging on top of each other, and like, how is the computer gonna? What can the computer's? What is the computer looking at,
Right,
right?
right, right.
So there's still gonna be a lot of human, like,
For the time,
but you
yeah.
basically, it's, yeah, it's gonna be machine learning, right? So it's just like, this is half guard, this is this, right? And a lot of things in jujitsu is just like, what happened,
Yeah,
right?
and
Like,
sometimes when you're rolling with somebody, you end up in a position that isn't really defined yet. You know what I mean? Sometimes you end up in these weird
yeah,
positions that you're like, what the hell is this weird
yeah,
position? And it's going to be hard for the I guess the visual part of analyzing that type of video data is very difficult to do. You know, it's still very infant. It's very young still, that type of AI. But the goal, I mean, I'm guessing what you're working towards is that capability for somebody to create that profile, so somebody to just upload their videos and then have kind of that dashboard where they can have, they know where they are just based on everything just automated. Like they have that dashboard, they have their statistics, they have it broken down by events, they have it broken down by training, and they have everything broken down. And then having that next to you're already training, right? Having those two things together, it's gonna make you allow for you to train with a lot more intent, like you were saying before.
yeah, absolutely, right? Because like fighters watch tape. I mean, like, it's hard to watch your tape if you're just doing like new breed somewhere, right?
Right.
But it's still good for you to know, like, all right, like, I think I'm on top most of the time for trying to pass, but I'm actually spending most of my time on bottom getting passed.
Right, right,
So,
right.
and it's also kind of just like, I see it as just like a wake up call for some people,
Yeah.
right? It's just like you think you're hot shit, right? But actually, what the numbers say,
Yeah, you're
you got
bad at
some
this
stuff
spot.
to
Like
work.
for example, like even if you're let's say you're working a technique or you're working some sort of passing system, right? Maybe you try to pass it and you're in a tournament, right? You try to pass it, you notice that you did the technique and it worked and you passed and you got that pass. But maybe when you look at the data, you try to hit it like 6 or 7 times or 10 times and you only got it once. And then meanwhile you pass the card another way, much more. It kind of gives you that black and white, and data doesn't have emotion into it. You know what I mean? It doesn't take the emotion or how you feel. It just tells you this is what's going on, and that allows you to look at things with a lot more. I don't know if it's objective or subjective, right? Subjective point of view.
Unbiased, I think.
Yeah, unbiased, right? Unbiased
I'm
point of
not
view.
good. Yeah, I'm not good with big words right now. Words are hard. I did MMA this morning, and then I did no gi right after, so I'm kind of
Hey,
smoked
it's
right
about the
now.
numbers, bro. It's not about the words. It's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. But speaking of dashboards, let me see it. Let me share this real quick, if
Yeah,
you don't
shoot it this
mind.
way.
So let's see. Where's my dashboard? Here we go. So
Oh,
this
that's sick.
is so. Yeah. So this
So for
part,
people
I'm
that
not.
aren't watching, sorry, man. So people that aren't
No
watching right
problem.
now, that are just listening, there's this really intuitive dashboard that we're looking at that's taking the total matches, the total wins, the total loss, total draws, offensive success rate, the defensive success rate, and in it, and this is like a Power BI
Yep.
type of format or platform, right? And it's giving us pretty
Yep.
much a platform, a graphical view of your data, what you've broken down.
Yeah.
That's really really interesting.
So this is version one. My guys helping me with version two. So all of the substats data that I analyze, right? It goes into AWS, and I had my guys stored into a database, and then out of that, so the database is feeding this dashboard right here. So this is just like, let's see, this is just like all like the big gyms of pros, right? So let's say we go to Atos, right? So my goal with this is I don't want to just do this for like, well, I mean, I do want to do it for the big gyms, right?
Yeah,
Of course. But like my goal with this is Drew gave me this idea last time I was in Florida. It's let's say like a gym or a school is that they're not doing that they haven't been doing that great with jujitsu lately, right? So kind of use this as a way. I don't know if it'll work or coaches will care that much, but use it as a way to kind of help your competitors, one, see what their pain points are, right?
right.
How they're struggling, but also could potentially help coaches um, structure their
Dude, but
curriculum.
so you have this by gym, right? I see it by gym, right?
Yep.
And you have it. So when you go to B team, for example, let's say you hit or whichever, pick whichever. What is his data? Is
Let's
his
just
data based off their competitors?
yeah. So let's do
Oh, so this is telling you how that
eh,
what their competitors do,
yeah.
bro.
So
This is
this one is
great.
just for Mika Scott. Yeah, this is just for Mika Gabal. So yeah, Escola. Yep. This one for example.
So this is
So this
okay.
is just
Okay, let
yep.
me let me because this is pretty cool. So this is you have it broken down by the gym, and then
Mm-hmm.
within that you have the athlete in that gym, right? Gi and no
Uh,
gi, and you're showing it what they do, bro. This is interesting for anybody that's competing at a high level. You know what I mean? If they want to go into a match and they're going to face somebody, you'll have that information. You have kind of have that information there.
Yeah, so this is Diogo Reis and Mika Gabal.
Okay.
So this is where their ADCC matches, right? So like as a coach, right? Let's say your competitors were struggling with something, right? This is I don't really like this chart right here, but it's changing. But let's say,
Why don't you
all
like it? I
right,
think it's pretty cool.
uh, I I I just feel like it's hard to ingest like what it's saying, right?
Okay.
Like I understand what it's saying,
Right.
but like your everyday
That makes
coach and
sense.
stuff, like
That makes sense.
yeah, kind of going away from like what looks cool versus like what's ingestible, kind of what makes the most sense for
Dude, this
people,
is
right?
great, bro. Like if you're a competitor and you have this dashboard in front of you, like this will help you kind of build a strategy against those type of people. Like
Yeah. So then,
go ahead.
oh sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
No. So it's like so let's say single leg, right? And you just break down their top defensive moves, guard passes for your competitors, right? I said I just want to see Mika, right? Let's say you just want to see a specific athlete at your school. Let's see how he did with. He had 4 matches, 4 wins. He defended the. Oh, sorry, can't speak right
Defensively
now. He success. Yeah,
successfully
yeah.
defended.
He yes,
Words.
90% of the
Words.
time. Words. Yes, 92% of the time he defended it. He defended successfully, right?
Yeah.
What were his top offensive moves, right? Back, foot sweep, right? Let's say for the coach, right? Like, and then like I just don't want this to be like I want this to like well kind of can't capture all the school's data, right? But
Yeah.
let's say you're a coach, you own a school, right? I want to see how I want to see how competitor Schmuckatelli did. Let me go here and then be like, all right, let's analyze how you did your last match. You had 2 wins, you had 2 losses your last tournaments, you had a lot of sweeps, you got swept a lot. So this is just like your overall move analysis, right? But
And
then
that's
we go
something
to
that you
this
kind of
page.
want to do for gyms. Like you go in, you break it down, their gyms or competitors, and then you can add that data. The coach can look at it and be like, well, let me look at this. Okay, you're getting swept a lot by this. You're not doing very good on your passing, so let's work on that. That's a next level kind of analysis to what you can give a coaches. This is great, man.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, and this is like, Drew helped me come up with this idea when I was in Florida ago.
Yeah.
And now it's just refining it, making it better, and then doing the education piece, and then eventually you're gonna have to like sell this because what I originally thought for substats was like doing business analysis for coaches and gyms, right?
Right.
But I just feel like I'd be just like another line item or an expense or someone that's bothering an already busy person that's
Right.
dealing with a school, right? So this is kind of a little bit more refined, right? Because like digging into someone's business and numbers and details, that's not that's a little bit. I think it's a little bit too personalized. But like helping your competitors with their analysis, I think that's you can get in a lot more doors with this way. So here, for example, this is like the submission dashboard, right? So this is just everyone's overall, right? So let's go. Let's say we go here. Let's go to
Hey, Nicky Rod. Hey, Nicky Rod.
Nicky Rod. Nicky Rod. So this is just when he did CJI.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But yeah, so he only did no gi sub only.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100% RNCs, 104 RNCs. And then this all filters exactly, right? So let's do it by gym, right? Let's go to I want to go to this gym has more people, right? So it breaks it down by no gi, like how many competitors in my gym had a submission success rate in their no gi matches and sub only versus their points. What were their submission rates, total wins,
That was
and their
dope.
submissions? And then belt name. I mean, these are just 2 black belts. Move name. You can select the move name, the results. I mean, that's all.
Yeah. So
Both
like
these
people are
guys are
listening, we're seeing
winners.
a lot of good graphical analysis on by gym, and within that gym, you can go into the athlete. So anybody that's looking to compete, like going to compete, and you know who's going to be in your category, you can one look at them and kind of see how they've been doing historically, so that you can prepare a game plan for them. And I think that's pretty. This is pretty cool, man. This is pretty cool. Well, I mean, we're ending up the podcast, dude. This is pretty
Yeah,
interesting
thank you.
stuff. For like, especially that dashboard is pretty interesting. Is there anything that you want to promote before we log off and you know end the interview? You'll definitely be on again
Yeah,
because I'm kind of want to do some other stuff with you and some other. I have some other ideas for some other segments. So I'm definitely going to be talking with you more, see how we can work together to
no.
do some stuff.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Yeah. One quick shout I want to do. Of course, Drew A&M Jiu-Jitsu, one of the best gyms in South Florida. Drew's been a big help with
Yeah, he's a man.
helping me with ideas or bouncing off ideas off him. And then Matt Minded Solutions, my buddy Peter up in DC. He's doing a lot of the business analysis for gyms, and he's been doing a lot of like the marketing
Oh,
and
that's
just
cool.
all he wants to help gyms with like their internal operations, right? So doing just like all their administration work. So he's like a big data guy, been doing that for years in hospitals, and he's a purple belt up in DC.
Oh, nice.
So that's and he's been helping me as well with this. So Matt Minded Solutions. If you're having like
Matt
administrative
Solutions. What's it
issues,
called? I'm sorry.
Matt Minded
Oh,
Solutions.
Matt Minded Solutions.
So
Got it.
yeah, so his focus is like administrative work, internal controls of the gym, just helping processes and things be more efficient for the gym. So
Nice, dude. Is that it?
yes, sir. Yes,
All right,
sir.
man. This was great, dude. Honestly, I'm especially with that dashboard. Dude. That's something. That's pretty cool, man.
Thank you.
If you can implement that in gyms, and I think as if I was a coach and I had an academy, which I'm not, but let's say I did, I would definitely get something like that, especially for my competitors and what you have there already for the other competitors. Like I know that's going to be continued to build, but and it's still in its like infancy. But as that grows, it's going to be very valuable, in my opinion.
Uh, yeah, I think so too. So I hope it
All
does.
right, man. Take it easy. Stay off after I hit the stop button so that we can make sure that we have everything. But other than that, man, it was great. We'll be in communication to make sure that we kind of can work together in the future to do that segment we were talking about before. But other than that, man, thanks for being on.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate it. Have a good day.